What's that?
Aha. I've got some things in this bag, Vanessa. And I want you to tell me this. What have they got in common? ¿Qué tienen en común?
A newspaper. A battery. A plastic bottle. A glass bottle. A tin can.
That's all. Well, what have they got in common?
They're all rubbish. When you've used them, you throw them away. Se tiran.
What do these pieces of rubbish have in common? We'll answer that question in a moment. But first, we asked some British people this question. What do you do with your rubbish?
Well, I recycle everything that I can, such as newspapers and bottles, and batteries too.
At home, we recycle all our newspapers and all glass that we have, bottles, etc. We take to the bottle bank nearby.
We collect newspapers, tins and bottles for recycling.
I live with 3 people and we save newspapers and take them back to be recycled. And we also save tin cans and plastic bottles to recycle as well.
I drink a lot of canned drinks. I tend to put them in bins for recycling.
Suelo dejarlas en los contenedores de reciclaje. I tend to put them in bins for recycling.
Recycling. That's the important word. And that's the answer to my question at the beginning of the programme. What have these things got in common?
Yes, of course. These are all things that you can recycle.
10 out of 10.
Thank you. There are lots of other things that people do to help the environment.
I don't drive, so I suppose that's good for the environment. I always take the bus or go by train or bicycle. I think that's my main contribution to helping the environment.
Well, I never throw litter and I collect glass bottles when I use them and deposit them in bottle banks. But apart from that, there's not really very much I do.
To protect the environment, I use unleaded petrol in my car, and I sometimes recycle old newspapers, but I probably don't do enough.
When I'm at home in Yorkshire, I help by restoring a local steam railway and planting trees alongside the track.
Yes, lots of different ways to help the environment. Not driving a car.
Taking the bus, train or bicycle.
Using unleaded petrol. Gasolina sin plomo.
Restoring a local steam railway. Restaurando el antiguo trazado de un ferrocarril de vapor.
And planting trees alongside the track. Y plantando árboles a lo largo de las vías.
Well, we obviously have lots of environmental problems in the 20th century. But what problems did they have in previous centuries?
Let's find out. Over to the That's English newsroom.
News, news. First, the headlines. In 1 year, over 30,000 people die in London from the plague. And the first coaches are seen on the streets of London. But the main story of the century is the terrible plague. Over to our health correspondent, Sir Sidney Walsingham. Sir Sidney, does anyone have any idea what causes this plague?
Well, Trevor, doctors don't agree. Some doctors are saying we're being punished by God. Others are saying it's all in the stars. And 1 or 2 doctors say that the plague might be carried by the common flea.
The flea? But the flea is so small.
That's right, Trevor. You see, fleas live on rats, and the rats eat the dead bodies of the animals and humans that are left in the streets. They say that is where the plague comes from. So it's back to you in the studio, Trevor.
And now for the rest of the news. The first coaches from Holland have arrived in London. Everybody wants one. Although they're very uncomfortable, they keep the rain out. The new coaches, which are pulled by 1, 2 or 4 horses, are already causing traffic problems in the city. Sir Walter said it took him over 2 hours to get to the Tower, and Queen Elizabeth herself has said that something needs to be done about the traffic problems soon. That's all from That's English News. Goodbye.
Well, their problems weren't exactly the same as ours, but they were very similar. First, there was the plague, la peste. Did you hear? What causes the plague?
Some doctors are saying we're being punished by God.
We're being punished by God. Es un castigo de Dios.
Others are saying it's all in the stars.
It's all in the stars. Está escrito en las estrellas.
1 or 2 doctors say that the plague might be carried by the common flea.
The plague might be carried by the common flea. Puede que la peste la transmita la pulga común.
Did you notice the use of the passive there? The plague might be carried. Here's another example of the passive. When the newsreader talked about the traffic problems, he said,
Queen Elizabeth herself has said that something needs to be done about the traffic problems soon.
Something needs to be done about the traffic problems soon. And now,